Hi, and welcome to the show. Today, we're going to dive deep into a word we use often, but seldom truly consider its weight: respect. The word respect sounds quite ordinary, doesn't it? But the Master's teachings you provided truly give it an entirely new depth. That's right. The material we have here is primarily a record of a dialogue between a master and his disciple. The core of it is discussing respect from the perspective of Buddhist teachings, specifically referencing the Avatamsaka Sutra, Flower Garland Sutra. This is fascinating because it doesn't just treat respect as mere human etiquette. It elevates it to seem like a fundamental basis for practice, a necessary root of goodness. Exactly, a root of goodness. So today, we're going to dig into what the Master's emphasized respect truly means through these dialogues and why it is so crucial. Alright, let's begin. Beyond politeness, the two levels of respect. Generally, when we talk about respect, we mean having good manners in our attitude and behavior. Yes, that's the usual understanding. But this document starts differently. The disciple asks the Master how one should practice respect for all roots of goodness. As mentioned in the Avatamsaka Sutra, this sounds quite distant from our usual concept of respect. That's a very good starting point. The Master in the dialogue makes a clear distinction between two levels. For bodhisattvas who already have a significant foundation in practice, respecting the roots of goodness means taking it a step further to purify the good roots they already possess. Purify. Yes, to purify them, so they become the same as the Buddha's completely clean, totally untainted. Wow, that's a high standard. What about ordinary people like us? The text suggests that we are often in a state of lack. The Master points out that ordinary beings often lack this kind of profound respect. Really? We lack it? So the focus isn't on purification, but on learning how to first establish it. Establish? Yes, establishing this root of goodness called respect. So what we'll be discussing next will focus more on how to move from having none to genuinely generating this sense of respect in our hearts. So the key is establishment. So what exactly constitutes the true respect the Master talks about? This next part is quite interesting. The Master uses a metaphor that I found quite impactful. He says that some people, in their pursuit of worldly desires, the text directly uses words like eating, drinking, whoring, and gambling, can reach a point where they are willing to do so at any cost, striving with all their might. The Master says that kind of absolute commitment, that level of determination, is what he calls respect. This metaphor, though it might sound a bit negative, captures the core idea. The core idea is the level of unreserved commitment. The Master is trying to say that if you could take the determination and force you use to pursue those secular desires and turn it around to apply it to faith in and practice of the Dharma, that is what's called true respect for the Dharma. Turning the focus from desire to Buddhist practice, that's an incredibly high standard. The inseparability of respect and faith. Yes, and the document also emphasizes that this kind of true respect is completely tied to faith. Faith, confidence, trust? Yes, exactly that. The Master even quotes the famous line from the Avatamsaka Sutra. Faith is the source of the way, the mother of merit, nurturing all roots of goodness. What does this mean? It means that faith is the origin of the entire Buddhist path, the mother that gives birth to all merits, and it cultivates and nurtures all good foundations. So does this imply that if we say we believe in the Dharma, and that the Buddha's teachings are correct, but our actions lack that commitment, and we often forget the Buddha's teachings, then we really don't have true faith or respect? That is precisely the point. The Master directly points out the state of many people. I understand the principles, but I just can't do it. The root cause is a lack of respect, because what you truly respect in your heart are the desires you are willing to fight for and satisfy with all your might. So, action, that unreserved, at any cost commitment, is the only standard to test whether you truly have faith and respect for the Dharma, or if you're just paying lip service. This perspective is indeed quite thought-provoking. The document also mentions the word knowing. It says, the single word knowing is the gateway to all wonders. It sounds like this knowing is the key to unlocking the door of respect. How should we understand this? you've hit the nail on the head. Here, knowing isn't just about ordinary knowledge or information. Then what is it? It refers to a kind of profound, internal realization and confirmation. You must truly know and have unwavering confidence that the Dharma is the only fundamental method that can completely free you from suffering and bring you ultimate peace. So this knowing is a judgment of value and the confirmation of belief. You could say that when you genuinely know and confirm the supreme value of the Dharma in your deepest heart, then that at any cost respect and faith become possible and naturally follow. Without this profound knowing, it's difficult to establish respect and faith. This reminds me of another metaphor the Master used, the one about the emperor and the slave. That metaphor is also wonderful. Yes, he says we should be the emperor of our own thoughts, and not the slave controlled by desires such as greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt, or by the urge for food, drink, and play. Doesn't this emphasize the autonomy that follows knowing? Exactly. This metaphor is very vivid. The Master points out that we often unknowingly treat our inner desires as the emperor. It's true. They issue a command, for example, the desire to eat, to play, or to lose one's temper. We immediately run to serve them like slaves. This is actually absolute respect and absolute obedience to desire. But when you put it that way, we forget that we inherently possess the Buddha nature. The text uses terms like self-nature, subtly brilliant true mind. Self-nature means our inner pure and wise fundamental nature. This is what should truly be in charge, what should be respected, recognizing the Buddha nature within us, and learning to master our own thoughts, not being led by desires that ultimately bring suffering is itself a form of respect for our own Buddha nature. That's certainly the case. And the Master even says that from the high perspective of the Dharma, calling you an emperor is still underrating you. Why? Because your fundamental nature is the Buddha. How can such a noble Buddha nature turn around and obey the commands of afflictions and desires? This points out the core of the problem. Often, it's not whether we can do it, but whether we are willing to truly make up our minds to be the master of our own thoughts. And this willingness also stems from that profound knowing. To illustrate this nearly absolute respect and faith more concretely, the Master mentioned the story of Sudana's 53 visits. This is quite famous. Yes, it is. Sudana visits a good and wise advisor, an enlightened teacher. Surprisingly, this teacher asks him to jump off a cliff. You can imagine how unreasonable that request must have sounded. The disciple in the text honestly admitted that he would have just walked away. Really? Jumping off a cliff? What does that have to do with practice? Sudana must have also been full of doubt and disbelief at first. He probably thought the teacher wasn't worthy of respect. He even turned and left at one point. Yes, his initial reaction was the same as most of ours. But the key turning point in the story is when he chose to return. He eventually chose to trust the guidance of this good and wise advisor at any cost, even though he didn't understand why. Yes, even though the logic was completely unclear, he still jumped with the determination of die or die. What is this story trying to tell us? The interesting thing here is that this story extremely highlights the importance of absolute trust and obedience to the good and wise advisor, the teacher who can truly guide us toward liberation. Absolute trust and obedience? Yes, even if the demand seems completely illogical, even life-threatening. Sudana ultimately chose to give up his own judgment and life to obey. This demonstrates the highest degree of unreserved respect. This story also seems to suggest that only when the student is prepared with this level of faith, respect, and obedience can the inner help truly take effect and help him overcome the ordeal. If he had left right away due to disbelief and disrespect, no transformation would have been possible. You're right. The Master also mentions this point. If you don't have that foundation of faith, respect, and obedience in your heart, even if a highly accomplished good and wise advisor, say Manjushri Bodhisattva, comes before you, they might not be able to help you because you won't listen, and you might even resist. You must first possess the basic conditions to receive the guidance. So it's not that the good and wise advisor or the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas don't exist or don't help. Often, It is our own karmic obstructions that prevent us from seeing and accepting their guidance and assistance. We've talked about the definition of respect, that unreserved commitment, and its relationship with absolute faith. But coming back to reality, it may still feel very difficult to achieve that absolute state like Sudharma. We can't do it right now. That's a very practical point. So, what can we do? Fortunately, the document mentions that this respect can be trained. This is a crucial point, and gives us a place to start practicing. Since we don't currently have the pure root of goodness of respect like the Bodhisattvas, the Master's suggestion is that we can start by sowing causes and creating affinities. That is, consciously practicing in daily life. Consciously practicing? How? Specifically, for instance, the Master suggests that when we see a Buddha statue, read a sutra, or meet monastic symbols of the triple gem, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, we can consciously practice in our minds, treating them as an existence more important than our own life, trying to generate that feeling of reverence and respect, even if we feel clumsy at first, or our mind is still half in doubt, or as the disciple in the text describes, doing it in a mess. That action of training itself has meaning. It absolutely has meaning. The Master emphasizes that the process of this training, even if imperfect and intermittent, is itself accumulating merit and planting a crucial cause and affinity for the future arising of genuine respect. Just like the disciple in the document shared, when he started to practice walking past a Buddha statue without being absent-minded or acting as if he didn't see it, but consciously reminding himself to generate reverence. That act of beginning the practice is already progress. The document also mentions a quite interesting practice. The disciple tried to observe his feeling of hunger. Oh yes, when the feeling of hunger arose, he practiced not being immediately driven by it, or disturbed by it. What does this have to do with training respect? This can be seen as a method for training inner stability and focus. Stability and focus? Yes. Our mind is easily influenced and controlled by physical sensations or external environments. Practicing observing the feeling of hunger, but not immediately being driven to find food, is training. A kind of inner stability. Learning not to follow the external condition. This kind of inner stability and focus is also an indirectly related foundation for cultivating continuous focus and respect for the Dharma. The key word is still practice. We need to practice. The Master also proposed a very practical standard for testing. I think many people will resonate with this. Which one? He said. If you respect it, you will remember it. If you don't respect it, you won't remember it. In our lives it truly seems this way. We often forget things we think are important, things we are determined to do. After a little while, this is a very keen observation and a great point for self-reflection. If we look at it from a macro perspective, how firmly we remember something, and how frequently it appears in our mind, often directly reflects our level of importance, which the Master calls the level of respect. In our heart, the Master uses a very common life example to illustrate this. He says if you hide the best tasting food in the house, say in a corner of the refrigerator in front of everyone will remember exactly where it is. Why? Because everyone respects that delicious food. They crave it and think about it. This metaphor is very apt. By the same logic, if we truly respect the Dharma, if we truly believe it is the most important thing that can solve our fundamental life problems and bring ultimate peace, then we will naturally keep it in our hearts constantly, thinking, contemplating, and practicing it, instead of forgetting it after hearing it, or needing others to remind us all the time. Therefore, memory becomes a touchstone to test the true degree of our inner respect. When you find yourself constantly forgetting important Dharma teachings or your practice commitments, perhaps you should ask yourself, is my respect for this matter still far off? Is it still just on my lips, not having truly entered my heart? After this discussion, our understanding of the word respect has certainly become very different, even somewhat revolutionary. Indeed, it is far from the simple politeness and attitude we usually talk about. According to the Master's discourse, true respect is an inner quality rooted in absolute faith and absolute obedience, requiring the determination to commit and practice at any cost. It demands that we harness the same intense motivation we use to pursue worldly desires and redirect it into faith and adherence to the Dharma. So hearing this, what does this mean to you? You might start to consider who, what, or what goal in your own life truly receives your at any cost respect. Where is the main direction of your investment of time, energy, and even life? And it's noteworthy that the context of the Master's teaching is a profound teaching like the Avatamsaka Sutra. Yes, the document mentions that it was supposedly preached by the Buddha after his complete enlightenment, in a deep meditative state, for non-ordinary listeners like celestial beings and great bodhisattvas. This further highlights how fundamental and necessary the Master's emphasized respect is. It is not just a worldly moral requirement, it is the foundation for accessing profound wisdom and liberation, seen as the key to unlocking our own potential, like activating the wish-fulfilling jewel that can realize all wishes, as the text illustrates. Without this respect, even having the jewel is useless. It can't function. Finally, we'd like to leave you with a question to ponder. The disciple in the document recalled his experience in the military, the example of getting up early, for 5 years, because of the extremely strict external discipline and environmental pressure, over 100 people waiting. For him to wake up, that's huge pressure. He never overslept once. He was on time every day, doing something he couldn't do at home. This experience prompts us to consider, in our daily lives, absent that external coercive force, what kind of inner discipline or commitment mechanism can we establish for ourselves? How can we consciously cultivate and train ourselves to generate the necessary, even the Master's at any cost respect, for the things we genuinely recognize as important and worth pursuing in our hearts? Whether it's the Dharma practice or other ideal goals, that is indeed an excellent direction for reflection, guiding us to think about how to turn understanding into concrete action and generate that unwavering determination and respect from within, without external compulsion. Thank you for tuning in, We hope this discussion has brought you some inspiration.